We're going to now talk about photographers. And photography is one thing that is really a specific service that you want to have tailored to fit your wedding style and design style. But what's another thing that's really important that a lot of people overlook is the personality of the photographer. And some of the questions on this form that you're going to be asking are really designed to draw out their personality. So even though some of the questions may seem simple or even irrelevant, it's really to maybe see if you're going to push some of their hot buttons and see if some of their personality comes out in a negative way, and that can help you kind of see if you can get some red flag signaled in this process so far in just this preliminary interview. So, of course, you're going to ask the normal questions that we've gone over with everyone else. And then you're going to ask what their primary shooting style is. Every photographer has a very different shooting style. And when they tell you what that style is, ask them to explain that to you, because sometimes it means something different to different photographers, and this gives them an opportunity to explain to you how they would describe their shooting style. And then, is this the only wedding that you're going to photograph that weekend? That's really important to know, because maybe they only have one assistant. Will they split up, or will you be able to have that second shooter with you? Do you edit and color correct images? Some photographers actually just hand you the raw files that have not been touched at all. They just take the photos and then give you the disc or give you those images. And so you want to know, are they going to go through each photo and color correct each photo and edit each image? Then you want to know, if my event lasts longer than anticipated, will you stay, and is there an extra charge for that? There's been many times that I've seen photographers that are booked for only a certain time frame, and maybe the cake cutting is 15 minutes behind, or the bouquet toss is running a little bit late, and I have seen photographers say, in essence, too bad, my time is up, I'm leaving. And other photographers are gracious and will stay until all the special events are concluded and they don't charge extra. And then there's the other photographers that will stay longer, but then they will charge also. So you want to make sure that you know that ahead of time. When can I expect my photo disc or my wedding book or all the items to be delivered to me? So I want you to not judge too harshly on the answer of this question. We have some amazing photographers that we recommend all the time, and sometimes it does take 8 months to get the photos back, but those photos are worth the wait. Sometimes it takes so long to get back because, one, you have a very busy, popular photographer, and another reason is sometimes some photographers may take 5,000, 10,000 images, and that photographer goes through every single photo and edits every single photo and will color correct or do skin blemish corrections and things like that. So you don't want to get upset with the photographer if they're really taking their time to do a good professional job in doing that. But it's still good for you to know. Also, it's very often that a photographer will promise photos being back at a certain time, but honestly, they do take a long time to get back. So give your photographer some patience in getting those back, because they should be worth the wait. Will you have an assistant with you that day? And will you be the photographer who will shoot my wedding? Sometimes it's the same thing with the DJ service that we talked about. A main photographer might book the wedding, but then they may send out other photographers. So you want to know if that will be the case, because of course you want to meet that person and make sure that your personality will match with theirs. So do you have backup equipment? What about a backup plan if you on that day are unable to shoot my wedding? So what if they're sick? Do they have other photographers they work with that are used to working with them? Are they going to subcontract it out? If they do, you want to know who is that they're going to subcontract it out to, because they may have a totally different style and a totally different personality. So that's a really important question to ask. If my wedding site is out of the area, do you charge a travel fee, and what does that cover? So you need to know what is their range of travel where they're not going to increase the charges, and then what are the charges? Do you have to get a hotel? Do you have to pay for mileage? Do you have to pay for their food? Are you going to have to pay for their assistants' hotel and food and travel? You do need to know all that, because we need to make sure that we get that in the wedding budget. how will you and your assistant be dressed? So this is a perfect question to ask to figure out how professional they are. I've seen photographers come in jeans and t-shirts, and if it's a backyard wedding, maybe you don't care, but you need to make sure that their attire is going to fit the style of your wedding. So another question to ask is if it's okay for other people to be taking photos while the photographer is taking photos. Well, I happen to know that this is a really hot button for a lot of photographers, and it can get them really flustered and upset. So this is a great time for you to find out how patient they are and how would they deal with those situations when they arise, because it's a really important aspect or personality for them to be able to control unwanted situations at your wedding without them getting upset and frustrated and yelling at your guests, which I have seen that before too. Have you ever worked at my site before? So whatever sites you're looking at, ask if they've seen it. If they have not, ask them if they'll go out and look at it in advance. It's really important for your photographer to be familiar with your venues, because they normally should scout out different areas that are great photo opportunities that might be on the property but may not even be actually where the reception will be taking place. So you want to make sure that they're familiar with your venue. What time would you arrive on site and how long will you shoot? What packages do you offer? Can I customize a package based on my needs? Do you include engagement photos in your package? Engagement sessions with your chosen photographer are really a great way for you to get to know your photographer, how well they edit their images, and how well you guys get along, and can he bring out in you and your fiance the poses and the personality and whatever it is that you're trying to create in the images that he takes or she takes. What type of album design do you offer? Some photographers offer albums, some don't offer them at all, and so you can't just assume that they're going to offer an album. That's something you're going to want to ask them. Do you provide assistance in creating an album? So sometimes they don't offer an album, but they will offer you assistance in putting the images together that look good, and then you can order those yourself online. Do you provide retouching, color adjustments, and other corrective services? So we did ask them before, do they edit the images? But what happens if you get the images back and they're not exactly how you want them? How will the photographer address that? Can you ask for the photos to be retouched or edited? And if so, how many will they allow you to do at no charge, or do they charge for all of them? Or some photographers do not offer retouching at all, so that's something that you're going to want to ask. How long after the wedding will it take me to get my proofs? Will they be available online or on a CD? What is the ordering process? And how long after I order my photos will I get them? Will you give the negatives or digital images to me, or is there an additional fee? Who will own the rights to my photos? So this is really important. Do you both own the rights? Does just the photographer own the rights? You need to know that. And what that means is if you don't own the rights to your photos, even if you get a disc, typically you can't print them out unless you print them out at home. You couldn't have them professionally done because you have to have a release from the photographer that says that you may make copies of those images. So you want to make sure that you also own the rights to your photos. If I own the rights to my photos, will you give me the files? And what size can I print a copy of the images? So that's really important. Sometimes a photographer will give you a disc of the images or a file of all the images, but you can't print out larger than an 8x10. And a lot of people now would like to have a big 2x3 or 3x4 picture printed out for their home. And with the files that they give you, that's not an option. So you just want to have that conversation with this photographer. Well, this is a good place to start. I hope you've narrowed down your decisions after you've gotten the answers to these, and we'll go more in depth about choosing your photographer soon.